hated the Cowboys growing up.
Jerry did the draft from his yacht.
Got ahead of ourselves.
Chicago?
Some unexplained things happened in the draft.
Seattle Jasmine, I may go to Canada.
Drew, why do you want that money in cash?
We were all just enamored with this player.
It's honor among thieves, right?
He agreed to it. That's bull there. Yeah.
Jason took that door off the hinges.
You can't pass talent up like that.
Let's take it. Let's get
Where is
it.
Yes, this is Stephen Dallas. We're making a trade with Philly.
Zach Robinson, a lot of time going deep for Dez Bryant. He's open. Diving catch. Touchdown, Oklahoma State.
You know, you just threw the tape on with Dez, and he just wowed you.
We all felt like Dez was a guy, if we went and played on a concrete parking lot, like he's going to be selling out for the ball.
You know, Dez can do some unbelievable things, like things that just others can't do.
The way everything was falling in place, I think when he got down near us, I think, okay, Jerry was so excited about getting him on our team. I think, like, historically that Randy Moss thing was kind of playing in his mind. If we can get a guy that's a difference maker, who can really change the field for us and make big plays. So I think Jerry was pretty aggressive. Let's go get him, and it was totally worth it.
The Dallas Cowboys have just left up. And there's the Cowboys. Stephen Jones getting a little excited as Jerry just gets off the phone.
Hey, Dez, congratulations, man. I'm doing great now. Got you. So, how about you? You want to be a Dallas Cowboy? I heard you did. Yeah. It's a dream come true. Yeah, it sure is.
We talked about this in the pregame. Jerry, I don't think the Dallas got known for some of the things that Randy Moss did to the Dallas Cowboys when he came in that stadium because he wanted to be a Cowboy and never took him as he continued to fall. Jerry doesn't want to make that same mistake and let this guy, this kind of talent, get away.
Did that ever come up, or do you?
Yeah, I mean, there was some talk about that during the room. We talked about great receivers and passing up on them, and then there was the Randy Moss example. So you have that in your back of your mind as you're going through. You're trying to evaluate them and give them a value.
To watch where Randy Moss may or may not go. Of course, his on-the-field production at Marshall in 2 years tremendous. Do you take a risk and just go with him because he's a great football player, or is there a red flag? Here's the views around
Jerry. One of the great debates that maybe ever happened in a war room here with the Cowboys was the Randy Moss debate between Chan Gailey and then the scouting staff. And Jim Garrett famously said, hey, this is not the Boy Scouts. You know, this is the NFL. And I think that always stuck with Jerry.
Linda, I just got off the phone with the Cowboys war room, and they're going to go cold feet like a number of teams are with the Randy Moss, and I doubt seriously how much they really consider drafting Randy Moss at the 8th pick.
Well, with the 8th pick in the draft, the Dallas Cowboys select defensive end from North Carolina, Greg Ellis.
Well,
people say, well, you know, Cowboys passed on Randy Moss because he had problems. Well, Randy Moss had legal problems, right? Dez Bryant didn't have legal problems. He just had maturity problems, right? Now, the knock on Dez was the fact that he went to dinner with, you know, he was so young, he didn't understand the whole thing, right? And so he gets suspended for the next season.
You're there at Oklahoma State, you try to talk to high school coaches, you try to just get as much as you can about the kid, and you kind of get to a consensus where, hey, our support system in Dallas can handle this, and we felt like we could.
The number one thing when you're talking about a football player, especially of Dez's caliber and what panned out throughout his career, is his love for football. Nothing is going to take that away.
How you doing, man? Congratulations.
Dez, I can't tell you how much he was on the table for you. During when we were looking at the draft and looking at what we need to do to make it possible.
And to finally get the news, where you man?
Man, what a surprise. You know, we had predictability. And the predictability was he's going to be a Pro Bowler. He's going to be a starter on a championship team. we had all these predictions.
The number one thing was bring me an athlete and we can teach them to play football.
I'll never forget, I talking with him. I said, man, Gil, if Tampa Bay or Seattle drafts me, I said, I may go to Canada. I don't want to run behind a makeshift offensive line. And he was just telling me, oh, don't worry about it. And he says, you'll probably end up with one of the top teams in the league. And I was like, well, how's that going to happen?
In the year that we drafted him, there was a running back by the name of Ricky Bell at USC. We had traded with Seattle because we felt that John would probably take Ricky Bell because he coached him. And so we had this draft meeting, and I spoke about Dorsett. Red spoke about Ricky Bell, and we decided to take Dorsett.
I love this story. Nobody saw that move except a guy whose name I've never heard, who was a customer at Chuck Howley's Laundry, where they cleaned and printed up the uniforms. And a customer came into Howley's Laundry the night before the draft and saw a Cowboys jersey Dorsett hanging there. And he called Vern Lundquist, the #1 TV anchor in town.
And I said, no, there's nothing to that. Can't be anything to that. The next day, Gil Brandt came out and Schramm and announced a trade. The Cowboys had acquired the rights to Tony Dorsett, and the trade was Seattle. The guy was right.
And Vern laughed at him and said, just go have another drink, pal. And Vern laughs about that story to this day. That's the only guy who knew, besides probably Tom Tex and Gil.
If I was in Seattle, I don't know. If Seattle had kept my rights, I don't know what. I probably won't even be here talking to you right now.
I'm not a bulldog type of runner. I didn't come into this business being a bulldog type of runner. I'm a runner that you, your grandmother, or someone else could probably enjoy watching because it's something exciting that's possible to happen at any time on the field.
One of the storylines we'll be following today, this season, next season.
First-round player on your board in the 3rd round, and that was really, really cool for us.
Jason Witten, will he still be there for Buffalo?
I think he wore #1 at Tennessee. In his mind, he is #1. He's the best tight end in the country in his 20-year-old mind. So I'm going to be the first tight end. I'm going to be a first-round pick. I'm going to be whatever his dreams might have been. Well, hold on there, big fella.
We got to the 3rd round. There was like L.J. Smith, Mike Seidman, Dallas Clark. You know, those guys were all on that draft board.
I mean, I think Witten would make sense for them.
Well, listen, there's no question that a guy like Witten from Tennessee certainly would be a consideration because they have
the 23rd selection in the 2003 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Willis McGahee, running back, University of Miami. With the 24th selection in the 2003 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Dallas Clark, tight end, University of Iowa.
But when I didn't complete my sentence because everything was running around, it was a different tight end than we were talking about.
You felt like it just continued to get worse and worse and worse, and there was nothing you could do about it, nothing anybody could say.
Listen, there wasn't many people talking. Everybody was upset and mad. Jason took that door off the hinges when he went through it once.
He's 20 years old, barely. And so he gets mad. He's questioning why he came out of school early. He's questioning who lied to him and why the universe is conspiring against him. And now, if you know Jason Witten today, you know above everything else that he is a man of deep, abiding faith.
Again, I give Bill Parcells a lot of credit for his ability to have a vision for what the player was going to be. You know, Bill, throughout his career, had been with some outstanding tight ends, Mark Bavaro, guys like that. So he kind of had an idea of what he wanted.
You love Bill Parcells.
I do.
What do you think he's going to do?
Look, I got no idea how he's going to draft, but I think that everywhere he has been, he has improved the team dramatically and quickly.
I was very interested in the player. We had to do a little convincing because there was another tight end named Seidman. He was only a one-year starter at UCLA.
And that kind of made me just a little skeptical.
49ers called. And right when the Cowboys are about to pick and they ask if the Cowboys want to trade back a few spots and get more picks. Well, Jerry always loves to do that. But they also said, we'll consider this, just tell us who you're going to take. And the 49ers said, well, we're going to take Jason Witten. And I think the phone hung up right then. And they said, well, thanks, but no thanks. I think we're going to do that as well. We're going to keep the pick.
I can't recollect ever
We eventually, got around to taking him in the 3rd round, which turned out to be pretty good.
I thought I was going to get drafted by the Baltimore Colts. I get a phone call. They said, Randy, come on over to the field house. You got drafted by the Cowboys. Baltimore, the night of the draft, traded their #1 pick to Atlanta, who had the #3 pick, so they could draft a quarterback from California, Steve Bartkowski. And the Cowboys had got a #2 pick in the draft from trading Craig Morton to the New York Giants. I got the Cowboys, I'm thinking I'm going to Texas. I never heard about Texas. I don't think I saw Texas in the movies of guys riding horses and wearing cowboy hats and them Dust Bowl things rolling around. I mean, that's what I saw in the movies, right?
The life of a Texas cowhand today is little different from that of 100 years ago.
Well, I get off the airplane and I come to the headquarters. Everybody had a coat and tie on. I saw more coats and ties in Dallas, Texas than I did back in Maryland. So, and then I met Coach Landry, and, that was a great experience.
I'm not a rah-rah type of coach, especially on the sideline.
I'll tell you the real thing I remember. They had Coors beer in Texas, and I got 2 cases of Coors beer, and back then you could put it on the airplane. And I took it back to Maryland with me, and I was a hero in that dorm for about an hour till they got through, finished it all. But getting Coors beer and bring it back home was one of my memories of coming to Dallas on my first draft day.
That's awesome.
Coach, if Seattle doesn't take me, I got 4 minutes left. If I can do that. Okay. I'll call you the second they make the pick. Thank you. You'll do it.
Yeah, Antonio Bryant, you're always looking for dudes that want the football. And Antonio was a gamer.
Looking long. Antonio Bryant reeled it in at the 38 and a marker down. Antonio Bryant, I'm telling you right now, will not be playing at Pitt next year. He's going to play in the National Football League for this one thing.
Was pretty talented and pretty successful if they can contain his emotion once he got there.
Antonio, how about them Cowboys? This is Jerry Jones.
No, we hadn't done it.
Hey, does it sound good? Okay, well, let me tell you what we got here. We've got to make a trade, and we're going to trade here with Sam.
2 teams agree on a trade. They still have to call the league office and tell them what picks are involved before the trade becomes official. So kind of jumped the gun a little bit. We were working on a deal with the 49ers. And unbeknownst to us, as we were talking to Antonio Bryant, we thought we had the pick. Steven, I believe, was on the phone with the league, and all of a sudden the league says, we haven't heard from the 49ers. So we got back on with the 49ers, and they let Jerry know they had got a better deal and moved the pick.
You just made another deal? Okay. Okay.
Be a Cowboy? Okay.
That's a shit. Got ahead of ourselves.
Chicago?
And all of a sudden, we're left telling a guy that he's a Cowboy and we don't have the pick.
In this trading business on draft day, it's honor among thieves, right? Everybody's trying to steal something, but you got to be honest about it, right? And that was a little shady dealing by the 49ers.
He said, if our guy's here, we have a deal. And he said, we have a deal. Yeah.
What did they get?
He just outright said, I got a better deal. He said, I got a better deal.
That's what he did. He got a better deal. Buffalo Compass
firmly said we had a deal.
This trade you were ours, okay? Yes, is Jerry there? You know what, I'm just going to stand
He agreed to it. That's bullshit. Yeah.
Better deal.
It's some unexplained things happened in the draft, and you got to be prepared to react to them. Emotions can't get involved in the decisions because we're dealing with a time clock. We're dealing with some of the things that we have to, and you got to stay on your P's and Q's at draft time to be ready to jump, capitalize when an opportunity comes your way, but also being able to react to adverse situations.
San Francisco, if we want him that much.
We'll give you 104, and they'll give you 140. Yes. And then you're going to give us, in the fourth, you're going to give us 129.
We're calling a trade with Chicago. And Stephen, you want to go over the trade? I can talk to Bobby.
Yeah, here's Bobby. Bobby, here's Jerry Jones. He wants to talk to you.
So, kind of sticky. Fortunately for us, it all worked out. We were able to pick up a pick a few picks later, and we got Antonio back on the phone, and he became a Cowboy that year.
Antonio, you're the Dallas Cowboy. Officially. Let me tell you something. We actually had team back out of the trade. We're going to do that.
And, then when that draft day was over, I'm walking on campus. All these guys are excited. Everybody's now asking me, Drew, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So here comes the second day of the draft. This is 17 rounds of the draft. And as the rounds kept going by and by, I kept having another shot of Boone's Farm. Okay. And by the time they got to the end of the 17th round, I'm feeling pretty buzzed. Okay. Second day of the draft comes and goes, and my phone doesn't ring. Draft ends, and then my phone goes crazy.
A free agent out of Tulsa University. He wasn't even drafted.
The Pittsburgh Steelers called, and the Green Bay Packers called. A little too cold for this brother to be catching passes.
They saw many passes slip through their frostbitten fingers.
Cowboys called. They had a scout in Tulsa at the Camelot Hotel. He was there. This is like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And so after Bob Griffin called, can you come down here to meet me? I said, yeah, can you give me like 30 to 45 minutes or so? Maybe an hour. I said, I got to kind of shower up and clean up. But what I really needed to do was sober up, okay? And so I drove that 54 Ford down there, and he was in, and he said, Drew, we couldn't believe you didn't get drafted. We like you and all this. And, he offered me a contract right there. And that's when they offered me $150. I wanted to do this, and I wanted to brag, okay? I wanted to go back to that gym, that locker room, and say, yeah, I just signed with the Dallas Cowboys, So I said, I'll sign if you pay me that signing bonus in cash. And he asked me, he said, Drew, why do you want that money in cash? I said, sir, I need gas money to get back to that apartment. And so I got back there with $150 because now I'm bragging. I'm a Dallas Cowboy. All these people said, Drew, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I couldn't wait to tell them I had just signed with the Dallas Cowboys.
I hated the Cowboys growing up. I hated the Cowboys as a kid. They weren't the Steelers were my team growing up. But he said the Cowboys, and I thought about it, and I said, all right.
Woodson inside the 15, and Woodson goes all the way in for the score.
92, and Jimmy's whole mantra back at that time was speed. He brought the speed of the college game up to the NFL, and in doing so, safeties became linebackers became defensive ends.
Right there! Get it now, Bees! Be under control. Be under control. Keep those hands up. Look at me.
Yeah, so I was, on my pro day, was in Phoenix at Arizona State's campus. I was, it was myself and Felipe Sparks, and Felipe Sparks was the guy who was going to go in the first round. He's my teammate, good friend of mine as well. But he was the one that was supposed to go in the first round, and all the scouts were there, including the Cowboys. All the teams were there to work out Felipe Sparks. I remember running my 40 and running like in the 4.3s, and that's when I met Dave Campo. When I ran the 4.3, Campbell walked up, and that's the first time I had ever met Dave Campbell.
So I was out there to see Philippi Sparks. All of a sudden, this Darren Woodson kid, we had him on the list, but not very high. And, he was running all over the place.
On that grass field there at Sun Devil Stadium, and we were all just enamored with this player.
And I'm still upset with Campbell because I did linebacker drills beforehand and then had to go back and do the defensive back drills. He didn't tell me this, but after the fact, he said I was on the radar.
When I was with Green Bay, we sent scouts to work Darren Woodson out down at Sun Devil Stadium, and he just made play after play after play. He never came off the field and all that, and he ran this incredible time.
Jimmy brought me into the war room. I was a defensive backfield coach at the time, and he said, tell me one more time about this Darren Woodson guy. So I said, well, I think he starts for us at nickel, first year out of the blocks, is going to be one of the best special teams guys. I walked back to my office, and lo and behold, Jimmy took him with a second pick, number 37 in the second round.
Dave Campo convinced Jimmy, and Dave doesn't get that done. We're looking at Darren Woodson there for the Green Bay Packers.
I wish I had him when he was young. There wouldn't be any question.
I got a call from an unknown number, and on the other side of that phone was Mr. Jones. And that phone call, it changed my life.
145. Sean, this is Jerry Jones, and you're going to be a Dallas Cowboy.
I cannot wait to get one.
Sean was a guy that was elite intangibles, elite motor, toughness, and really a guy like we knew exactly what we're getting with him. And just to get a guy that high, we felt like, okay, we got to make a move. We got to do something. We can't sit here and just watch him go. This is the type of guy that we all across the board, coaches to scouts to management, felt like this guy's going to be great for our locker room.
Sean was a super productive player. The only hiccup we had with Sean was, he had an ACL issue in his knee that, was going to become problematic most likely at some point. And quite honestly, that's why he slid a little bit in the draft.
But everybody raved about him as a player. So whenever he fell and we had the opportunity to get him, we knew he might not be ready right away, but we knew that once he was healthy, he was going to be able to do some really big things for us. And Sean Lee is my favorite player, of all time in my tenure with the Cowboys. To me, he's everything that you embody with a football player.
Hey, how you doing? Good. Are y'all gonna pick away here, or would you be interested in digging? Tell you what, let me take a look at that. We'll call you right back. You do it for 125. Straight on. That old kick to 6. Here to take it.
Let's take it. Let's get
Where
it.
is it? Hey, Howard. Okay, we'll do that. We're on the clock.
The Dallas Cowboys select Sean Lee, linebacker, Penn State.
When I got called with the draft, I had a partially torn ACL. They knew I had a partially torn ACL. They said, listen, if you come in and you hurt that knee, you're going to fix it and you're going to come back. I struggled with that in college. And when I heard that, that gave me the confidence to come in and be able to play, and be able to perform.
Yeah, I think their scouts did a really good job of getting through the background of Sean Lee, talking to the Penn State coaches, knowing that this guy was awfully sharp, awfully dedicated, and sort of, just straight line thinking. Football, football, football.
We had a little bit of a history of taking a little risk on guys in the second round, and that's what we did with Sean. And man, I would certainly say that paid off with where we took him and the value we got out of Sean Lee. You love it when you add guys like that to your football team.
Get to a point where I've been through a lot physically, and at some point, you need to look at it and say, hey, I need to move on, even though I've been blessed.
The irony of it all, the coincidence, whatever you want to call it. Here they are saying goodbye to Sean Lee, a guy that they drafted. He's a Penn State linebacker. They made a trade with the Eagles to get this guy. And then here they are, 8-9 hours later that night, making another trade with the Eagles to get another linebacker from Penn State. Also worked out pretty good.
Trade back still at least need the 3 to consider it. Your third. Pick 84. You're on the clock. I'll call it. Pick 84, right? 80. Okay. Yes, this is Stephen Jones in Dallas. We're making a trade with Philly.
We're trading our number 10 in the first for their number 12 in the first, and pick number 84 in the third.
Overall, and Mac Jones still out there. Here's the commissioner with the Dallas Cowboys pick at 12th overall.
And with the 12th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Micah Parsons, linebacker, Penn State. Yes!
I think this is also a good point for us to mention that Drew Pearson is slated to make the pick.
Hello?
Micah?
Yes, sir.
Will McClay with the Cowboys. I got somebody who wants to talk to you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Micah.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, man, I'm honored and proud to be talking to you. This is Jerry Jones, and I'm calling you to tell you we're turning your card in. You're a Cowboy.
Yeah, this is all I ever wanted,
man. You don't think it's too big for you to be a Cowboy, do you?
Nah, not at all.
Hey, well, listen, we've sure enjoyed watching how you have progressed in your career, and you had great support in this room. You were, frankly, I think you were our highest graded defensive player. So we're proud to get you. Coach Quinn's smiling from ear to ear. He's here smiling, got his thumb up. He's your defensive coordinator. Then I'm going to hand you over to our head coach. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Mike McCarthy. Here he is.
Micah, congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
Hey, linebacker, you got to keep the tradition going.
Hey, I said I was coming. Y'all saw it. I knew it was coming.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, from one PA guy to another. I'm looking forward to getting you down there. You're a great fit for us, young man.
I'm looking to come. Let's get to work right now.
Yeah, will do. Hey, enjoy this time. Enjoy this moment with your family. Congratulations.
I will. Thank you so much.
All right, Micah. God bless you.
It was a really a strange thing. Jerry did the draft from his yacht.
War after that last Super Bowl. That was a fashion statement, my friend. I will never forget.
Yeah, the 2020 draft was, it was unprecedented.
We didn't get to time guys. We didn't have times on guys. We didn't have measurements and some of those things.
That was my 8th year of being out on the road and actually scouting guys. And for us not to be able to do it, it was a game changer.
That was the trying part of it, because the things that you're used to doing to do your job, you weren't able to get.
But the thing that strikes me about that draft is any coach in their first draft, they want to set a tone, ideally, if you can. I think Mike McCarthy had some different ideas in mind of what this team needed to do right away. And I don't think adding a receiver there was really much in the discussion.
Here with the Dallas Cowboys and the decision that they have is if they took CeeDee Lamb, they'd be taking him right out of the lap of a team in their division, with the Philadelphia Eagles having a huge need at wide receiver a couple picks away. So that's another interesting storyline to keep an eye on with the Cowboys. I know they have those needs on defense, but CeeDee Lamb would be pretty tempting right here.
I think it's great that our ownership has a mentality to, pull a trigger just for a player that we know could end up being a difference maker. It might not be a guy that we need, like at that time, but you can't pass talent up like that, because if you don't take them, somebody else will, and you definitely don't want to be playing against guys, especially like CeeDee's talent.
With the 17th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver, Oklahoma.
If Mike McCarthy in his first draft had not have immediately signed off and said, let's do this, if he would have argued, no, this is what we discussed, we need to go this way, it would have set a completely different tone for the interactions going forward, right?
So when you get a chance to get CeeDee Lamb there falling right to you, it doesn't really matter what the needs were. They did need cornerbacks, and in fact, Trevon Diggs was a guy that they were looking at with that 17th pick. So, here it goes in the second round. Trevon's still on the board. You still need corners. You already landed a guy like CeeDee. Now you have a chance to get Trevon. It's all about value, and they were able to get, 2 value picks there back to back.
With the 51st pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Trevon Diggs, defensive back, Alabama.
All right, so the Cowboys thought they might go defensive back in the first round. Instead, CeeDee Lamb fell to him, and now Trevon Diggs, the younger brother.
It just reinforced that, look, we can go off the board. We'll make it work. We have a head coach that's on board doing that. So, you know what? Let's just bake this into how we approach the draft.
So the fact that we could get, the talent that we did with the Pro Bowlers, we put the hours in, and I think that really showed with, covering all of our bases and bringing in the talent that we got.
Next question, why do you play the game?
Not only has it been in my life for a long time, but, this, all the lessons that it had taught me, it's like, football is just like a pedestal to set up my success. Football is like another father to me. People teach me so much stuff. It teaches me so many lessons. It's a lot of knowledge I can get from this game, and I'm using it. I'm always asking questions. Just love everything that comes with it.
I'm pretty sure whenever he gets that call from whatever team it is, I'm pretty sure you guys don't have me on camera.
Say whenever Chris is around, it's nothing new. Like, he knows. And the thing about Deuce really is, like, his weakness is his size, and everybody can see that, right?
About this next step.
Deuce, your story begins with your size. Should it be that now, considering what you've accomplished?
I feel like it's always going to be that.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't control that narrative, but it's always going to be there. It's always been there, but it's never determined the way that I've worked. One of the biggest and most, encouraging things for myself is hopping on these phone calls with running back coaches and special team coaches, and they're telling me, I wouldn't be on the phone with you if you weren't so small. And that's been huge for my confidence.
Double cats for that one, man. Double cats for that one, man.
Level, and it gives me a lot of confidence, and just kind of tells me to keep attacking the way I have been these past 3 years.
Get your popcorn in Kansas City, where they are ready for the 2023 NFL Draft. Just because you need the next Mahomes doesn't mean you reach at the positions. I just want teams to trust their board. All right.
With the 8th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Bijan Robinson, running back, Texas.
The Falcons did it. We have a shocker of a pick. Jahmyr Gibbs, running back, Alabama. Selected Jahmyr Gibbs.
The Seattle Seahawks select Zach Charbonnet, running back, UCLA. Go on, baby.
The New Orleans Saints select Kendrick Miller, running back, TCU.
Tajay Spears, Devon A-Chain, Tank Bigsby,
Rashawn Johnson, Israel Abanikanda,
Eric Gray,
Evan Hall, Chris Rodriguez Jr.
There's some things you just can't measure. And heart is one of those things, the instincts of the game. And when you're a playmaker and you do it dynamically your entire life, don't talk to me about size.
So sitting there, he calls me. I didn't call him, he calls me. And it's almost like he's realizing, like, I might not get drafted. And it's really the first time where I heard him in his voice, in the way he talked, that my height might have caught up to me. Like, I might not be able to overcome this. Listen to me. This is the trips in the car. This is the continuation. But when we start playing football, everything takes care of itself. Just understand, it ain't when, it's where.
It's like an A+, but the nerves, you could see it was starting to kick in. I mean, he's starting to pace around. He's on the phone. He's trying to, hear from the coaches, like that position coach from K-State that was with Deuce. He's just constantly getting feedback from him, and I think he was just like, he was getting so nervous.
Hell of a playmaker. Mm-hmm. Well, I definitely like him. I'm hopeful. I'm right now. I'm ready to draft him.
Yeah. So I was doing something else at the time, but I had to go into the war room just to ask a question. And as I'm cutting through this office to get there, I see.
We'll make an announcement. I'll sit there. We'll make it. We don't want to fuss at you, man. Tell me about it. I can't hear you. Tell me about Brooks again. Tell me about him. Yeah. Tell Will. Hey, Will.
He's out there.
He doesn't know. Oh, yeah.
We want to be in here when we got the board.
Where is he? Where is he going? Tell him to get back in here.
Yeah, he made it known early on in the process, knowing that Deuce was going to be a part of our draft processes, so everyone can be themselves, can say what they feel, good, bad, or indifferent. I don't want to be in the room. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to have anyone feel like they have to not be themselves when we're talking about my son, and allow us to have the full, clear process.
Well, we kind of, in February when we did our pre-combine stuff, we asked them to leave the room. And then at the point we were in the draft meetings, it's like Chris is mature and man enough, and he's been around this thing for so long. Like, look, he can handle it. He was totally professional about it. He listened. He didn't try to, sell a point here or there. But, he stuck in there during the draft process.
Defensive end from Wagner.
We were on the clock.
We're on the clock.
And again, keep talking about Brooks.
Vertical speed's the issue.
He does play fast.
He plays fast.
Then his time speed. He's a great plucker. Plucks the ball.
He just didn't run great in combine. He improved it by a 10th at the pro day.
Here we are. Here's our best rated guy, and it happens to be one of our employees' sons. But it's really kind of funny how it all went. Like Steven and Jerry and Will went into Will's office, and Will kind of came out. He gave me a wink, and I kind of knew it was coming down. But they kind of had a little sidebar, kind of, here's what we're going to do. It was pretty interesting.
How do you, Chris, how do you turn that card in over there?
It's all electronic.
It's all electronic, no card.
Just push the button.
Put Vaughn on that son chair with you.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's like everybody. It just brings like chills and tears to your eyes, like, and just to see the rewards of that, and then being actually our own team. I mean, it was very special.
We all deserve it. We all deserve it. Never a second.
Man, I can't thank you enough.
Well, what I really want to say, you earned every ounce of me being able to make this call. Every ounce. And I'm so excited. There's just something magical about this moment that may be bigger than we even realize here talking to you on the phone. But you is now a Dallas Cowboy. Your daddy just handed the card in. Right here. Yeah. It's got him on. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Great stuff.
With the 212th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Deuce Vaughn, running back, Kansas State.
This is so cool. His dad, Chris, is a scout for the Dallas Cowboys who actually went outside the room when they discussed him as a player, wanting to be involved in the process. Now he's going to have his son working in the same organization. That is so cool. Again, you're talking about someone who's 5'5", 179 pounds. If you ignore the size, just watch the tape. This kid is unbelievable.
Best phone call ever made. Ever.
Dak Prescott's Dallas Cowboys currently trailing by 14 in the middle of the second quarter. Deuce Vaughn back to return, and he'll have a chance to bring this out. First action for Deuce Vaughn. Vaughn with a seam up the middle of the field, and he's taken down at the 25. The first carry for Deuce Vaughn. And he'll get it right here. Squeezes through. Almost broke to the second level and not clear. Oh, my goodness. What a run. Deuce Vaughn. First time they handed off to him on that drive, and you can see right there why Cowboys fans are excited about this rookie. Touchdown, Dallas.
Emmitt Smith, I mean, I don't know if I can ever ask for the 22 because, I mean, that's the all-time leading rusher in the National Football League, and the things that he did in that number in this building on that field, man, for me, I'm gonna blaze my own path.